Finally, with no other choice, Labongo made the ultimate sacrifice. He gave permission for the bead to be retrieved from his daughter's body. It was a heart-wrenching decision, and the clan watched in horror as Labongo's men prepared to carry out the grim task. The child, innocent and unaware of what was happening, was handed over. The act shattered Labongo's spirit. The bead was finally retrieved, but at a devastating cost the life of his beloved daughter. The death of Labongo's daughter marked a turning point in the history of the clan. The grief and sorrow that fell upon the homestead were immeasurable. Labongo was a broken man, unable to look at Gipir without a mix of anger and profound sorrow. His once strong and authoritative demeanor was now clouded by the loss of his child, and the trust between the two brothers had been irrevocably severed. Gipir, though he had gained his bead, found no satisfaction in the act. The victory felt hollow, and the bitterness that had once fueled his quest for revenge now weighed heavily on him. He had destroyed his brother's happiness and torn apart the bond that had once held their family together. Yet there was no going back. The damage was done, and the rift between them only deepened. As days passed, the tension in the village grew unbearable. The clan members began to whisper, taking sides in the conflict. Some sympathized with Labongo's grief, while others believed that Gipir had merely demanded the justice owed to him after Labongo's harsh treatment. The clan, once united under Labongo's rule, was now divided by the feud between the brothers. Unable to bear the pain and resentment any longer, Labongo called a council of the clan's elders. He knew that the time had come to end the feud in the only way possible, by parting ways with Gipir. The brothers could no longer live under the same roof, and the clan could not endure the constant tension between them. In a solemn ceremony, Labongo declared his intention to divide the clan. "We can no longer live as one people," he said, his voice heavy with grief. "The bond between Gipir and me is broken, and for the sake of our children and our future, we must go our separate ways." The elders, though saddened by the decision, agreed. They had witnessed the toll the feud had taken on both men and knew that peace would only come through separation. Gipir, though saddened by the outcome, did not protest. He, too, understood that their relationship could never be mended. It was time for him to forge his own path away from the shadow of his brother's leadership. The place where the brothers parted ways became a significant moment in their tribe's history. The two stood at the banks of the Nile, a wide and powerful river that would symbolize the divide between their faiths. In a ritual meant to mark the end of their conflict, Labongo and Gipir buried an axe at the location now known as Wangle on the shores of the Nile near Pakwach. The act of burying the axe was meant to signify the end of hostilities between them, but it also marked the beginning of their separate journeys. Labongo, with a heavy heart, took his family and followers eastward, settling in what would become the region of the Iteso, Acholi, and other Luo-speaking peoples of Uganda and Kenya. Gipir and his people moved westward, crossing the Nile into the lands that would later be known as Alur territory, stretching into parts of Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The brothers had once been united by blood, but now the Nile would stand as a permanent divide between them and their descendants. Years passed, and the story of Gipir and Labongo became legend among the clans of northern Uganda. The descendants of Labongo and Gipir would carry their names and their legacy across the lands. The Luo people spread far and wide, their dialects and cultures branching out, yet they always remembered the story of their ancestral fathers. In the region where Labongo settled, his descendants grew into powerful and influential communities. The Acholi, Iteso, and other Luo-speaking groups expanded across the eastern regions, their language and customs passed down through generations. Though Labongo's heart was forever marked by the loss of his daughter, his leadership endured and his people thrived. Across the Nile, Gipir's descendants, the Alur, forged their own identity. They lived in the lush lands to the west, their culture influenced by their proximity to the Congo and Sudan. The beads that Gipir had once treasured became symbols of resilience and survival, passed down from generation to generation as a reminder of the trials their ancestors had faced. The place where the axe was buried, Wangle, became a sacred site for generations to come. Situated near Pakwach, it held deep meaning for the descendants of both brothers. It became a place of pilgrimage where people from different Luo-speaking tribes would come to pay homage to their shared ancestors. At Wangle, rituals were performed and animal sacrifices were made to honor the memory of Gipir and Labongo. Clan elders would recount the story of the brothers, reminding their people of the importance of leadership, justice, and forgiveness. Though the brothers had parted ways, their shared ancestry remained a powerful uniting force for the different tribes. Wangle became a site of unity, but was the brothers' story truly over, or had their choices sown the seeds of an even greater conflict? Find out in part 4.